Welcome back to Guided by Faith. I'm your host, Jay Holland. We are in the middle of a section in Romans chapter 8, talking about suffering, future glory, how the world is waiting for the revealing of you and I, followers of Jesus, as the sons and daughters of God, and how that's even going to signal the lifting of the curse off the world. So really cool stuff we're talking about, and I want to dive into one particular aspect of that today with some analogies that have helped open my mind a little bit. Because the Apostle Paul in Romans chapter 8, verse 18 says, "For I consider the sufferings of this present world are not worth comparing to the glory that's to be revealed in us." So Paul says there's suffering in this world, and we know that the suffering in this world is pretty monumental, that it can be overwhelming. And so for Paul to say, I consider like the suffering is real and Paul went through more than I ever have. And he'll say, it's not even worth comparing to the future glory that's going to be revealed in us and the future glory of the world. And I've wondered sometimes, because I've walked through some hard and dark things, and I have watched people walk through things worse than I ever have. And I don't know about you, but I've wondered, how could the new heavens and new earth be so much better than what we have? Like, how could it all be worth it? Have you ever wondered that? Like, Paul says the sufferings we have aren't compared to the glory that it's producing in us. Well, how could it be worth it? And so what I want to do today is just real quickly give you three different analogies of things where like you could never imagine it, except it's a reality in front of you. The first is the largest trees that I'm aware of in the world, the giant sequoias. I have never seen them. And this summer, so I don't think I'll get to see the sequoias, but this spring, actually, my family's headed out to California and we'll get to see the redwoods. I am looking right now, right in front of my face, you can't see it on the screen, a picture of a pile of seeds, and they are giant sequoia seeds. And these seeds, just imagine like a bowl of oats, if you've seen like dried oats before they're cooked, or like little pieces of granola. That's the size of a giant sequoia seed before it's planted in the ground and grows so big that they can carve holes in the middle and drive cars through. Now, I want you to imagine that you'd never seen a tree and somebody hands you one of these little seeds and says, hey, if you take this and stick it in the ground and wait 100 years, it's going to be 200 feet tall, 30 feet wide, and it's going to last for 500 years. And you would say, you have lost your ever-loving mind. But because we see trees, we can now look and see a seed and say, oh, yep, everything you need for a tree is in that seed. And I think in some way, the present sufferings that we have are producing an eternal weight of glory in us. And you're like, how could this suffering produce that big? And I would just remind you, you would never dream a giant sequoia if you'd only seen a seed. But it's true and it's real. Another one, I was looking up, and if you had bought one Bitcoin on April 15th, 2011, it would have cost you $1. And as the time I looked this up, so your one Bitcoin, you find $1 on the road or something like that. You buy one Bitcoin and you just stash it and forget it. If you had that one Bitcoin for $1 in April of 2011, you could sell it today for $96,304. And I'm sure it's gone up or down since I read this thing. $96,000 out of $1. You could not imagine buying that anything like that would be true. But that's the reality of what Bitcoin's done. I still don't recommend investing in it because I don't understand it. But when Paul says, I consider the sufferings of this world not worth comparing to the glory that's to be revealed, think about that. I consider one Bitcoin isn't worth comparing to what it's going to be worth one day. I consider that one seed isn't going to be worth comparing to a tree. You can't even imagine it. And your suffering is producing something beyond your imagination. So one last analogy. Think of a city. Think of any city you've seen. Think of the biggest city on earth that you've seen. I've been in a few big ones. I've been in New York City. And I don't know whether New York, I think New Delhi, India is the biggest city I've seen. They're pretty huge. They have tens of millions of people in them. It takes a few hours to drive through. Well, think about the one city described in the new heavens and new earth, and that's the New Jerusalem. The dimensions of the New Jerusalem are not even length and width. They're length, width, and height. And it's about 1,500 miles long, 1,500 miles wide, and then 1,500 miles high. So just length and width. If you live in the United States, it would be from like the tip of Florida all the way to the middle of Mexico, and then going all the way up to the Montana and Wyoming border, and then going over to somewhere in New York. And that is just the ground level of the new heavens and new earth, New Jerusalem. But it's also that tall, which I can't even fathom. I can't give you an analogy for it. It's so far beyond the space station in the sky. I can't even give you a description. So you know what a city's like, but you have no idea what this New Jerusalem's like. And you know what suffering's like, but you have no idea the kind of glory that God is going to produce in it. And so don't lose heart as you suffer today. Don't lose heart as you suffer through your life. Give your sufferings to the Lord. Let him use them. Try to honor and glorify God in them. And remember that your suffering is producing an eternal weight of glory in you, far beyond comparison. All right? You don't see it today, but God's promised it. It's true, and it's coming. So don't lose heart. Keep holding fast to Jesus. And remember, this season of suffering will end, and what's to come is beyond your imagination.